bumping away and stealing for all to see. El Cachorro, El Cachorro. There's a dawn of superheroes here today for you and me. El Cachorro, El Cachorro.
What's up, Cachorrites? We are back for our continuing El Cachorro versus Anime Quintessential Quintuplets coverage. We're going to cover what's technically season 3. It was actually a wrap-up movie where they kind of just squeezed everything into just a 2-hour movie to wrap up the series. So we're going to go through that. There are 2 specials that were made after this. I don't think I'm going to get to them in this video because this video probably will go long. We'll see. So obviously, once again, like I said, we're talking about the Quintessential Quintuplets. The quick recap once again. Our boy Futuro is a one of the highest, smartest kids in his class. He's a nerd. He's on his own. He's got a poor family, so he takes a job tutoring these 5 girls, which are twin sisters. And they're rich. They all have issues with wanting to learn. He slowly gets them all on board. And we've dealt with the girls developing relationships with him. Obviously, we have Miku, who's the best girl in my heart. She is the first girl that we see in the show to develop feelings, and we have the big season 2 moment where season 2 ends with her sort of confession. We'll talk about that deeper later. Ichika, the oldest sister, who's always kind of been the wise one that gives him the best advice. She was also have feelings for her. She took a very bad turn in season 2 where she started getting a little cutthroat with her sisters and was trying to pretty much sabotage Miku. So at the end of that season, they tried to redeem her at the very last scene with a kind of an apology kind of thing to her sisters and to Futuro. But she's done a lot of damage, and yeah, we'll talk about her deeper later. Itsuki, the youngest sister, who's always seems like kind of butt heads with Futuro a little bit, but kind of in that playful way where they. And is kind of always been kind of the sleepy dark horse. Ninu, the chick who started off as the antagonist that hated our main character in the first one, and then she's comes full circle around and she has feelings for him by the end of season 2. She's the only girl at the time, till the very end, that confessed her love to him. She was the first girl to confess and pursuing her. And then our Yotsuba, our eager people pleaser, who at the end of season 2 is, we also find out, was the girl from the past. So that's our quick recap. So we'll try, so that we can get into the movie. All right. So as I mentioned, they did a wrap up movie to end the series. After that, they made 2 specials. One was a couple of the chapters that they skipped over while making the series, which is the summer vacation between season 2 and season 3. And then they made a honeymoon special, which takes place after, because we already know he marries one of them. That takes place after it. The 2 seasons and the movie are available on Netflix and Crunchyroll. The 2 specials do not seem to have been released. They definitely don't have a dub, to my knowledge. They definitely have not been released in America. So you got to kind of go out of your way to find them. So this is where the hard part comes in, because the special with the lost episodes that take place in between the 2 seasons, I mean, it's not bad. There's some just extra stories with some of the girls that there's in there, as well as the fan service that we're going to get at the credit roll for this movie that they put in there. But there is a lot of character death depth development for one of the girls in particular. In hindsight, I do think that is very helpful in her character and should have been in season 2. So it could be beneficial to watch that special before the movie. It does. You don't need to. I don't feel. I mean, I do think it helps a lot to watch it ahead of time. So if you do have that availability, that if you want to look that up before watching the movie, it's could be best. But or you could watch the movie, get to the same reaction everyone else has, and then go back to watch the special and be mad that that should have been in the movie. But or at least the end of season 2, or the special should have at least been put out before the movie. But let's get into it. So we're going to try and get through this hopefully as fast as I can. So we open up at the wedding, and we kind of get a little glancing shot of the rack. You see some wedding dresses. And if you remember a scene from the previous season, it kind of gives you a hint on where we're going with this. And he goes to meet the bride, and all 5 sisters are all dressed identically. And it's one more last quintuplet game. But then we jump to the opening credits, where the opening credits is where they went to like a water park, which is one of the part of the summer vacation arc that gets skipped over. So obviously it's the big fan service part showing the girls in bikinis. So they put that as the opening credits, just to make people, I guess, give people that the fan service. Gotta love the fan service. So the movie opens up with the girls at their mom's grave. So that tells us we're at August 14th because that was the anniversary of her death. So we knew Itsuki would go on the 14th of every month to visit, and then the girls would all visit on the actual day itself. So that's where that's where the story is the movie is picking up from at the very end of summer. They all remember a time when they were all back when they were little. They were playing soccer. Yotsuba was clearly excelling over all the other girls in the athletics already, because she's even getting praised by her coach. That kind of will tie into some stuff about her later. Then they're going to go buy flowers for the mom who's getting ready to get out of the hospital, but they leave without their wallet and they lose their money. So Yotsuba's blaming herself and feeling all about it, and she picks a wildflower, and then all her sisters also pick the same wildflower, and they say, we're all in this together. It's it's not your fault. We're all together. So they all pick a bouquet of the wildflowers and give it to their mother. Then we also find they have to cover something that happens over the summer break is they move back into their penthouse. Supposedly the place they were renting is getting condemned to be demolished, so they were evicted. So it shows them all kind of moving back in. The special actually goes into this a lot more, showing them move back in. But so it kind of has to cover that here, just to cover the fact that they are back home. Then we cut to Yotsuba at the school, getting ready for the school festival. She's trying to recruit people to help her, and she didn't think Futaro would be interested, so she ends up meeting up with Futaro, who kind of asks her what does she have any future plans, to which she hasn't really put much thought into it. But then he pretty much lets him know that he's excited, he's really ready to go for the festival, and he's all about helping her because they have to run food stalls, so they're going to research it and that. So we see him studying with Ichika. And oh my god, I forgot what they talked about. So there's kind of recap a few little things there, I believe. And sure, thanking you for the studying and talking about how things are going. Then we cut to the class where they first go through and ask everybody what food options they should sell. Nina originally says just tabiaki, I think it's saying. I think I'm saying it right. Which is the research says is very popular, and everybody goes with that. And they get some other suggestions. Then they ask Miku for an option, and she picks pancakes, which a lot of the girls get on board with. And then we get back to the next day, and now the class is broken in half because all the girls want to do the pancakes, all the guys want to do the taiyaki. Putting the girl, so Nino has to end up deciding that, hey, we'll just do both. So the class is split, just causing some of the girls to be kind of mad at Nino for it. Then we get a scene where Miku straight up asks Futaro out to go out on Sunday, freaking him out for a minute, and then she's going with the, oh, not in a weird way. I don't mean it in a weird way. So when we saw she did her confession at the end of season 2, but then she kind of played off her confession she was talking about her sisters and not about Futaro. So she kind of destroyed her own confession, which we also see that the girls are. Oh, that's what I forgot to cover. So this scene, we find out that Futaro has already been accepted to his preferred college. So he's already got his acceptance. He's made it in. So that. Then at this scene, we've found out that she got a B on an acceptance, but she's just kind of in. She don't know what she's going to do. Itsuki, who wants to get into a educational school, got a D on her, so she's struggling, and she's not. She's that's what she wants to be as a teacher. So she's dealing with the fact that she's struggling, and she's going to have to, means during the festival, her goal is to cram more studying in. Then we have the scene where Ninu and Yotsuba see the girls that they're mad at Ninu, and they try to hide from it, but then she overhears them talking to Futaro, and they're accusing that Nino likes one of the boys, and that's why she's siding with the boys, to which he's trying to say, no, that's not true, to where he actually comes out and tells them, like, she likes me. She doesn't like any of it, it's me, and the girls all blow him off and think she's lying. She's at least first shocked, and she gets kind of happy because I guess that seemed that she's finally, she's getting it. Okay, he's getting it through. Yeah, okay, he's recognizing it, and he's realizing it. And they're talking about sending an invitation to her father to invite her to the thing, and she's questionable. That's what she was questioning about doing. And then she remembers how she wanted to go to a bakery for school, and he kind of blew her off. Then the next day, she found he bought her a bunch of cooking stuff. So she decides to invite her father. So we see where he gets the invitation. Then he gets met. Then he has a visitor from Futaro's dad, who warns him that some bald guy is in town. And we know he's some educational person because we also know that Itsuki is talking about taking a class from him to help, or to help with her studying. Then we go to the date with Miku. They're at the zoo, and did she say? There's five twin. I don't know if they're twins, but 5 sister penguins that they're trying to tell apart. And they joke like one was kind of acting, up, so they said that was Nino, and then one falls, and Futaro jokes that's Miku, which he gets a cute little reaction for. And then they get to the edge, and the one that was behind that they said was Miku pushes its way all the way to the front, and is building up the courage to jump in the water. And as it does, that's where Miku decides that I have something, and that's where Miku, at the same time, she gets the strength to say, Futaro, I want to go to cooking school, because that's what I brought you here. I wanted to tell you that because she passed her she did pass her exam, but she doesn't want to go to university. She wants to pursue cooking, and she's expecting him to be upset, and he actually supports her. He goes, well, if that's what you want, and they kind of have a little back and forth where she says, well, I know university is a good idea too, but I want to try this. So he actually supports her. And then she says, well, the reason I wanted to tell you that is because you're special to me. And he kind of gasps, he goes, yes, I do mean that in a weird way. So we get a second confession. Only this time she's actually doing it for real. Where she kind of took the other one back and said she didn't, where she kind of must sound like she was giving up on chasing him. So now she kind of gives him a second confession, and she says it's his turn. He's got to make a choice. He meets with Itsuki. Itsuki's at his house hanging out, and so he meets with her, and then they take a walk. So where they kind of talk about how their relationship has grown and how they're more than teacher and student now. And she mentions that you won't regret coming to our school and meeting us. That they're all together, and it's kind of telling him that he's starting to get his like, yeah, I need to make a choice. It is my turn. I have to make a decision. Now we're at the festival, and it opens with a girl band opening, which somehow Nino is the main singer on. Performing, and we see all of them going through their daily activities. They have a plan, and while this festival's open, we see someone sending a message that the meet at 3:00. I believe it sounds like it was Fudoro setting up this meeting. So they all get together. They have a little display of food there, and they're all like happy. And then Fudoro comes out and says, "I love all 5 of you. Love the 5 of you." And I have to pick one. That's not right. I can't do that. I need to pick one of you. I can't do that. It's like, give me to the end. I won't do it now because I don't want to interrupt the festival. It's like, and I don't know who I want to pick yet. I don't know who it is yet. So he's like, wait till the end of the festival. All the girls are now shocked because now we have Fudora's confession. Finally, sort of. He picked all 5. It's not going to be that kind of anime. So then we cut to there's somebody going around interviewing people out there. First person we see is the track coach looking for Yotsuba. Then we see what appears to be the Nakano's father. And then we see this mystery girl who's here to meet her childhood friend. They don't make us wait long. We find out right off the bat. It's Takebayashi, the girl that Fudoro grew up with when he was a child. We saw her. She was the girl he kind of had a crush on and was taking pictures of her. And then he realized that she had a thing for the nerdy kid. And then that's when he removed himself from the situation because he knew that he wasn't going to be, he couldn't get her attention. And then he met Rena. So they're going around, enjoying the festival. And we see the girls of Kadam out here. So we have Miku and Yotsuba giving that dirty stink eye. And then they go to the pancake stand where they run into these two, who we get a little bit of a confrontation. Nino kind of trying to like, who the hell are you? And he's like, oh, childhood friend. And stuff like that. And Nino, of course, gets like, well, we're his current friends. And we got all the... And she admits that, she was his teacher. So she helped him study. And he's up with nurture. So the girls kind of stand their ground a little bit. And at one point, Yotsuba gets jumps out and goes to confess something. Yuki-san is more to me than, and then it gets cut off. So that's when the girls find out that she was teaching Fudoro. That he was kind of a reckless, not very smart student, and she started teaching him 5 years ago. That she started, becoming his tutor and teaching, helping him study. Interesting enough, this happened 5 years ago, so this would assume that this is what happened after Kyoto. Is that once he made after he met Rena, is when he got her to start teaching him and helping him improve in school. And then, of course, it ends with Nina doing a confession once again, saying she still has her feelings. We see her go and meet the same nerdy kid all grown up, and she says Fudoro's doing fine. The quintuplets are great girls. It's kind of weird because it kind of feels like this was like a setup. Someone told them we don't ever get an answer on if it was or not. Like, did she just randomly come back and check on him, or was there some kind of setup here? I don't know why she came to specifically check on him. So then the begins. So we start seeing Fudoro making his way to meet to give his answer, and then we get a breakdown from the festival from each girl's point of view. So we're gonna start with Ichigo. Now, obviously, I've seen how it is, so I know it is, so I'm going to say how I was feeling when I was first watching it. So Ichiko was obviously the one. She became a good love interest by the end of season 1. She was going head harsh. Then she did a bunch of questionable stuff in season 2 where she kept attacking Miku and trying to sabotage Miku's chances with him, which kind of made her a super villain because she's she would have like butted heads with Ninu. I think it would have helped her character. Made her, could have kept her character more alive. But going after the quiet one who was always scared and passive and was scared to admit her feelings, kind of made her an evil bitch. Not gonna lie. And towards the end, they did, like she said, she had a big makeup with her sister. She made up with Miku, and they gave her the final scene in season 2 where she tried to, she kind of apologized to Fudoro and kissed him on the cheek. The damage has been done. At that, I pretty much put Ichika in the friend zone. That's where they her and him always seem to get along with their talking, and it's just. But let's see how her story goes. So it starts with them waiting on a taxi to pick her up. They overhear some fans talking about her kissing scene, which causes Fudoro to kind of gasp a little bit. And she kind of tricks Fudoro into admitting that he's had his first kiss. But he doesn't know who it was. Because it was the kiss at the bell. So he was not sure that everybody was dressed as Itsuki, so he has no clue who he kissed. So she kind of like pushes, And then she says, well, I might not be back for the end of the festival. Can you tell me what your answer is? And he tries to play off that he's not picking anyone. You hear then it goes black. You hear a slap noise, and she's on scene filming a scene where she slapped a guy, and the guy's like, feels like you have practice doing this. And then after the scene, she gets her manager or one of the other people come and tell her that one of her sisters has collapsed. So we cut to the hospital where we instantly find out it wasn't Ninu because they meet in the hallway. Her sister's doing fine. She just wanted to come back and make sure because she was worried. So then Ninu has stuff to do, so these two decide to take a walk walk her home and take a walk. They go to where the fireworks festival initially was, so they're walking through there, and and like I said, they're doing what what these two have always done. They usually have really good conversations, and they have that big best friend, big brothers, or big sister kind of feel to them because, like I said, she feels friend zoned. So they're talking about things, and when she even asks him, who do you wish it was you kissed? And she names her 4 sisters. She doesn't name herself. Then she says she's kidding. She gives him money to buy a drink out of the vending machine. And then she picks, if you pick this, it's Nino. If you pick this, it's Miku. If you pick this, it's Itsuki. And if you pick this, it's Yotsuba. It's green coffee for green tea. The 2 teas for the Nino and Miku because they both like their teas. Coffee for Itsuki, and juice is Yotsuba. Once again, does not give her an option for himself. Homie takes like 10 minutes picking something out. When he goes there, she's laying down on the bench. It appears like she fell asleep. Looks like she's fake. She's kind of faking it again, it appears. So while she's looking, because he talked about how they always kind of have this, that's always how it works with them too. They all both fall asleep around each other. And he starts staring at her lips. And she catches him staring at her lips, and she starts questioning him about it. And that's where he says, well, it might have been you I kissed. I don't know. So I was like, I don't know who it was I kissed. We still have not, it did not show what he bought from the drink at the vending machine, so we have no clue what he bought. So they're questioning it, and then she grabs him and kisses him. And then asking, was I the girl? And then asking him if he liked it. And he kind of blows it off, saying, well, you're an actress. You know how to do that stuff. She goes, no. My kissing scene was with another girl. I was like, I've never kissed a boy on set. Because I wasn't ready for that. You're my first kiss. So that's how their date ends. So she... Sorry, it didn't do enough to make me feel like she's a legit choice. I still don't, I still feel like she's in the friend zone. They tried to give her that little last push at the end, but it feels like she's really more pushing she's really helping him decide which of the other 4. Girl number 2 is Ninu. Now, Ninu has had the most most character development for the entire first 2 seasons. The first season, she's protective of her sisters. She doesn't want to accept Fudoro into their home. She does everything she can to drive him off. She drugs him twice. She kind of falls. She gets tricked by him to kind of accidentally by him by thinking by falling for him with a blonde wig on, thinking by the character name of Kintaro. Then that gets revealed to her that in season 2 that was Fudoro all along. Then she gets her big change where she comes around and an incident happens where she starts developing feelings for Fudoro, and it goes crazy from there to the first where she's the first girl to confess her love to him and heavily pursue him after that. Positive, so she is a strong contender here. We also know, though, since she fell in love with the Fudoro, we know she definitely was not. Well, we have at this point we know that in the last season they revealed that Yotsuba was Rena. So all season 2, she was like the only one we knew it wasn't him because she saw the picture and didn't recognize him. So she was the only one that. So we know she was not. So only one that got eliminated from that. So she's the only one that had the uphill battle of having to win them all over. So we start at the meeting they had where she still got her little outfit on. And she said she wanted Fudoro to see her in it. And we find out that Yotsuba was supposed to be the one that actually performed in that, but she was just too busy, so she had to take the spot. And in a way, she was doing it so she could also see if her father was in the crowd. So we find out that her big issue is she's trying to find out if her father showed up to see them or not. So they spend the whole first day looking, and they can't find him. And Fudoro at one point is ready to call him on the phone and go off on him, and she stops him. And she's kind of also paranoid about spending time with him after he just made his confession, so she's kind of freaking out about it. Day 2 ends, and they still haven't had any luck. And then the person who was doing the recordings was the one that runs up to him and says, "Hey, is this the guy you were looking for?" So they found out he did show up. So at that point, she now gets the courage to tells Fudoro to take her to her father. So they go and meet, and she's making the pancakes, and this is, And well, first Fudoro's trying to confront him about why didn't you come and say anything if you were there? We know you were there. Why didn't you come and see them? So he's trying, stand up for him. But then she kind of says, "Hey, this is what I'm making this, and Miku made the batter, and this is the stuff we're working on." And she's kind of getting on him for not, getting involved in their lives. And she demands he tries it. When he tries it, and the pancakes makes him remember back to their mother, who also wanted him to learn how to make pancakes because the girls liked them so much. And she's like, "Well, when I get out of the hospital, I want you to try some pancakes. Let me make you some pancakes so you can try them." We also find out that he also refers to their mother at one point as his teacher. So we have this other teacher. So not sure how far that one goes. If he was actually one of her students and then he falls in love with her and marries her. But he just shows he comes around and he says, "Yeah, next time we're going to eat pancakes as a family." And then he actually acknowledges and kind of gives Fudoro praise because you're doing stuff that I didn't hire you to do. I'm glad I hired you. You're pretty much saying, "Yeah, you're a good person and you've been doing a good job with helping my daughters." So Fudoro finally gets accepted for the most part by their father. He's always hated. He's had good reason. I mean, he did go off on him, but for good reasons. Then, as they're happily going back, they're walking, and Ninu slips, and he catches her, and they almost kiss. And you can see she's ready for it. So he helps out, and then the dad walks out, and he goes, "Oh, she just slipped. I just caught her." And the dad turns, "All right, well, have a good night," and starts walking away. And Nino's like, "No, no, no, no." She grabs him, and then she actually does kiss him. She goes, "You have to be aggressive when you're in love," and her father kind of overhears him a little bit. So Ninu gets her kiss to show that. And then we see, now we're jumping to Miku's story. So Miku, obviously that's my best girl. I love Miku. She's been my favorite. She's a shy girl. she's Fudoro wins her over in studying in the second, by the second episode, and she starts crushing on him pretty much in that episode. She starts falling for him hard, and she's always too passive and afraid to say anything. She keeps setting goals for herself that she thinks she can do to overcome them. She was always wanting him just to be able to notice her. And at one point, he finally does. She's ecstatic. And then, of course, she had the big arc where the final, where she had the final big date with Fudoro. She confessed, but then she took her confession back. When she said her confession was actually towards her sisters and not towards him. And she even said something, if I remember the line correctly, was she's not stupid enough to barrel in when she doesn't have a chance, which sounded like she was giving up. But then we saw at the beginning of the movie, she admitted she likes him in a weird way. So she is very, this girl's it's very confusing. So her story starts with her cooking. One of the boys is spying on them, and we see the girls and the boys are not getting along, and she doesn't have the courage to try and, she knows what she needs to do, but she doesn't have the courage to stand up for them. So she sees Fudoro, and she decides, well, I'm going to spy on them. So they're looking at the boys, and she asks Fudoro, what should I do? And he's like, if anybody can fix this, it's you. He's like, you have to do this. That's not I can do. So she brings up the courage. She confronts the boys and says, hey, let's work together, and you bring some of your food over and let the girls try it, and we'll get over, and let's everybody just get along. So, like I said, she confronts them, and she buys some of their food. She tries it, says it's really good, and said everyone should get along, and she wants everyone to try it. And at one point, Fudoro thinks she's struggling, so he comes to step in, and she's like, no, I got this. She does it, and then she thanks him afterwards, and he goes, it wasn't me. This was all you. You're getting stronger on your own. So she's all proud of herself, and then the boys' food stand catches on fire and gets shut down. So that gets ruined. Then we get the scene where Yotsuba comes up to her and says that Fudora's with another girl, and you just gotta see, how can you not love the Miku face? The shot, the Miku like, what? So that's when they go and spy on Fudoro with Tabayashi. Afterwards, she takes him to the roof to talk to him, and she finds one of the boys and one of the girls up there fighting over the food stuff. And that's why he thinks that. So Fudoro first thinks that's why she took him up there. She goes, no. And then finally Miku loses her cool and snaps, and she starts yelling at him like, we're in high school. You're fighting like children. This is the last moment this should be our happiest moment. We should be enjoying this. So she gets on him and says, why don't you guys come and help us at our stand? And everyone just work together and let's have fun. So she actually gets through to him, and finally Miku stands her ground. And Futaro's like super impressed by it. It's like, wow, I was like, I would have just gave up. It's like, I'm so impressed with you. And she ain't done. She takes Homie and she pushes him down to the ground and is hovering over him, and she is grilling him on who was that girl. So he's like, it's a childhood friend. It's just a childhood friend. Don't worry. She goes, and then she was worried about it. He goes, I was like, don't hold back around me. She goes, I was holding back. And he's like, don't hold back around me. You don't have to do that. She was like, oh, well, in that case, I'm going to give you a kiss. And she straight up just goes right at it. And so Miku is finally saying she's taking what she wants, and she is moving forward. And that ends her story. Then we tell Yotsuba's story. Now, the interesting thing to notice here is we see her outside. All the girls we saw were like in special locations, and that's going to come in. We'll talk about it. So Yotsuba is the Enigma. So she's the first one that was on board with studying. She was always energetic. But she always seems like just the good best friend. She's always felt like she was friend zone. Now, we did have the scene in season 1 where she said she likes him, but then that was her playing with him, saying that she was just kidding. But then we have the moment where they kind of have their And that's pretty much, I think that's all that we had. Really. So no, most of season 1 we see is her always just want to make sure Futaro has a good time. She's always about trying to make sure no one has no regrets. Is one of the big things that is mentioned a lot. And she seems just to be, she's the big people pleaser and stuff like that. And she's trying her best and trying everything. Season 2, we start getting a little more into stuff here. There's a date, the date where they end up on the swings, where Futaro ends up laughing, finally showing some excitement and laughing and fun, which makes her super. We see that she gets super happy and puts her hands on her heart. So we kind of see that moment super touched her. Then at the very end, it's hard because we're talking about this in front of instead of Itsuki, because I'd rather talk about this after Itsuki, but we do get the reveal that she was Rena. But she doesn't want him to know she was Rena. And she doesn't, want that. So she's trying to avoid all that. So she's dodging that. So the fact that she was Rena kind of automatically says, okay, she is a player because she technically was the actual girl. Now, things have happened where is Rena still a big factor or not? Because he is kind of met with Rena. First, he thought, obviously we know where he thought the girl was one of the sisters, and then he blew it off because none of them would confess to it. So he said, no, well, she's supposed to be super smart. She's studying. So where we know that he gave up on Rena being one of the sisters. Then he met Rena, and he still did not think of Rena as one of the sisters. And then she said her goodbyes to him, and that they'll never meet again. And we do see at the end of the episode where he fell into the water, he lost the little charm she gave him, and he said goodbye to his past. And for the most part, he's not really talked much about Rena. I mean, on the field trip times, Rena kind of got brought up twice. We knew that was Itsuki's plan was to get him to remember the girl from his past. She was taking the photo with him. She was going to buy the Lucky Charms. They were trying to remind him of the girl. Her plan failed, and that's also when we found out Yotsuba was the actual girl. Then we have the scene where Ichika tried to make him remember the girl from his past too, and she tried to claim she was the girl from his past to him, which he straight up did not, called her out on it, and then that was BS and didn't buy it. We did later find out that she did meet him. She was the second one to meet him because he hung out with Yotsuba. And then when they were back at the hotel where he was waiting on his ride, he met Ichika, who played cards with him. So he did technically meet her. But at this point, it kind of doesn't feel like he's still hooked on that. It almost still feel like he wasn't hooked on that. So does that give her play or not give her play is the hard part. So that's what we have to find out. So Yotsuba starts. We see her. She's doing everything. She's obsessed with trying to make sure everything's going fine. She's helping the drama club. She's helping this. She's helping advertise stuff. She's, pretty much overworking herself. She sees Futaro carrying chairs because he has to set up a rest station. So she stops him because she can see that he's gassed. He's out of energy. And she hears a stomach rumble. So one of the things she did, she's helped some people advertise their food, and they give her a coupon for free food. And she's like, "Oh, I've been really wanting to try this." So she was really excited to get the coupon. Well, she hears Futaro's stomach rumbling. So she actually, here, you get to take this. Go get something to eat. And even afterwards, her stomach even rumbles, and she tries to pass it off. And she just, wants everyone to be happy. So we see that once again, she's taking care of others over herself. So then we get to the second day where the food stall catches on fire, and she's kind of freaking out now because something bad had happened. So she's going obsessed. She's trying to run around, trying to take care of everything. She runs into Takebayashi, and then that's where we see her pass out. So she's the one so now is where we find out that she overworked herself and she caused herself to pass out. She wakes up, she's in the hospital, and that's when Nina kind of tells her that, oh, everything's already done. Second day's over. It's like, there's nothing, you don't have to go help anybody. It's already over. And she's like, well, no, I have to go. And then we actually get to see more of the interaction between. There was more interaction between her and Takabayashi, where Takabayashi recognizes her as the girl from 5 years ago. We find out that they bumped into each other initially. Actually, I don't know. Did we find that out here? No, we don't find that out here. But she finds out. We find out that she bumped. That she knows that she was the girl from 5 years ago. And this is where she kind of tells her that, well, yeah, she became his teacher and everything like that. And then she asks if does Futuro know it was you? And she goes, no, I don't want him to know it was me. He'll be disappointed. And she don't believe in herself again. And to which she says, pretty much tells her, like, well, Futuro, and she's like, I'm useless. I can't do anything right. I'm a disappointment. And she goes, well, I know someone who was like that too, and he's moving forward with his life. I hope you find the same way, find the ability to do that too. So we cut back, and she's at the hospital. She's wanting to go apologize to everyone that she let down today, and Futuro stops her. He says, I'm not letting you go. You have to rest. He goes, come here, watch. So he starts showing her everything that happened that day. It's like, your track teacher, she stepped into the play. What about the dress that was not made to fit her? It's like, well, these guys fixed that. So showing that everybody stepped up, and she's thinking, oh my God, I put all these people in trouble. He's like, no, it's like they helped you because they wanted to. It's like you inspired them. And that's where he even says, it's like tomorrow, you've helped me. I'm going to take care of things. You rest. And to the next day, we see Futuro's kind of sleeping on the steps there because he's obviously wore himself out because Futuro doesn't have much stamina. We first start off with her up here calling his name, and he kind of half wakes up and he says, "I'm not ready to meet." And he recognizes the voice as Rena. And he goes, he's like, I can't. I'm too, not right now. I can't meet you right now. To which she says that, where she mentions, like, I'm sorry, I failed. I've disappointed you. I didn't hold up my end of the deal. And his reaction to it is, I don't care. Because that's the past. Like, we have to move on to the future. And she's shocked to find that out and hear that. And while he's pretty much asleep is when she leans in and she gives him a kiss. He wakes up freaking out, like, he's like, whoa. The hell was that? Thinking he dreamt it all. And we see her hiding in the back. And this is where we finally see what they've been hiding. Joseph has been hiding feelings this whole time. And that she don't feel like she deserves him. And that she's letting him go. And that he should be with her sisters deserve it more. And I mean, just kind of make it this part of it. Yeah. So there's a lot of tear-jerking scenes in this movie. So that ends her into the story. So now we go to Itsuki. I was always Miku from day one. And I liked Nino. So Nino was always, I felt was a viable option. But in my head, for most of the show, I expected Itsuki to be the winner. She seemed to be the one that had the deepest chemistry. Yes, they butted heads a lot, but it was that playful kind of... I don't know how to describe it. It was like where you kind of like they argue with each other, but it's because they like each other. She's the first one that goes to his home. She's the first one to meet his family. She connects with his sister. So she had all the signs were pointing that, okay, she was going to be the best girl. Everything was also pointing, and then you had the feeling, okay, maybe she may have been the girl from the past, and they heavily tease that she is the girl from the past. So she's the first one that realizes that they met. Him and her in the hospital talking about this, and realize they're talking about the same situation, and they realize they talk to each other. Now she does not admit to knowing him, but she could have been, not wanting to admit that. But so she does kind of first give the option that she doesn't know anything about the girl who did it, so she kind of makes it sound like it's one of the other three. But then when we have the scene where he meets Rena, and then after that, a couple of episodes, towards later in the season, we see she has the box with the costume in it. So we know she had so she was the one that dressed up as Rena and had the picture. And then obviously on the school field trip, her whole goal was to get him to remember the past. So it's like, all right, she's Rena. So she's going to be Rena. She's got to be Rena. Until then she turns and says, yes, but you need to tell him it was you. So I was like, wait, what? So she was doing all that to get him to remember Yotsuba. So at the very end there, she was like, she's throwing and trying to give up on herself. So towards the end of the second season, it kind of started really downplaying her as a love interest. So her story starts, she's studying, and she gets confronted by this bald dude. This was the teacher whose class she took to try and help herself out with her studying. To which he confesses that he knows who their mother. He was her mother's teacher, and that her mother, when resented going into becoming, pretty much telling her that you shouldn't be a teacher, like because your mother was not happy with that decision. She regretted that doing that. So he's telling her she's pretty much dissuading her from being a teacher. Then the next day, they run into each other again. This time he confesses who he actually is. He is their biological father. So his mother was her mother was his student, that he became a colleague, and then his wife. We got a lot of hookups between teachers and students in this thing. I mean, Japan, that's not kosher in Japan. So, and Itsuki rejects him for walking out on them and leaving her mother with 5 babies. So she absolutely rejects him. We find out Fudora has found out was asked by his dad who this guy was, who pretty much told him who she was. So we see Fudora's looking all over for Itsuki, and then the girls tell him where she's at, and so he goes to see her. And she's now doubting herself. She's now doubting if what she's doing is right, if she should be a teacher, if she's doing it for the wrong reasons. And Fudora pretty much goes through the speech talking about why it's bad to be a teacher. And like how you got to deal with rebellious and they're not going to want to work for you. It's pretty much, he's going through his history with her. How everything he had to overcome with her. But if that's what you want to do, who cares what others say? If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. And you should do what you want to do. So he kind of gives her a pep talk. And gets her to realize that she wants to become a teacher because that's what she wants. It's not just because her mom was a teacher. She wants to be a teacher. She wants to be a teacher like her mom because... So, which leads to another confrontation where she asked her biological father to meet her. To which he's pretty much starting down the whole path, telling her not to do it again. And he gets confronted by their father, Futara's father, and the female student. So all these... So Osmond's been cementing that all these people know each other, and they were all his students, and we know, and possibly their mom's students as well, because we know he called their mom's teacher his teacher. She said their mom was her teacher. We know and then in the flashback scenes when that happened, there was a kid that looked like him. So apparently both of them were their teacher. And then like I said, then he hooked up with his teacher. So when they confront him, and then he's saying something about Itsuki, and then the dad goes, "Wait a minute, that's not Itsuki, that's Miku," showing that the father could not tell the girls apart. And then Itsuki was hiding with her sisters, was hiding, And she comes out as, if you loved us, we get the whole, this is the big thing with this, is if you love us, if you love them, you can tell them apart. So, where she does her final confrontation with him and drives him off. She then meets with Fudoro, who she gets to, so she says, you were watching, weren't you? And he goes, yeah, I watched the whole, I saw the whole thing from afar. So they have a moment where she's thanking him, and she turns, and it looks like we're going to get another kiss, and then she turns away. It causes him to kind of freak out for a minute, and she's like, what's wrong with you? Nothing, just personal things. So she does not kiss him. So once again, cementing that she's not really viewing herself as that. And then she goes on to say that her mom to her is the perfect teacher, and that's what she inspires to be, but she goes, I think you're perfect too. And I wanted you to know that. And then the girls all meet up and decide to go enjoy the ending of the festival before meeting with Fudoro. We see Fudoro hanging out with the guys, chilling, and they kind of start talking about the sisters, and Maeda mentions how he always knows which one Ichika is. Because remember, he was the one that had a big crush on Ichika. That he can always, Ichika's the only one that he can always tell who she is. So it causes them to ask him, it's like, well, so they ask him about it, and he talks about how he had all the complicated stuff he had to go through with being able to tell the girls apart, and how they try and give him a hard time. So it causes him to ask, well, which one was the first one you could tell who she was? Which Futuro blushes and tries to walk away, and like, no, you're holding something. You like one of them. So it's pretty much saying that the first Fudo's realized the one he liked is the first one that he could tell apart. So there's a few options for that, depending on what. Now we know, obviously, at the spring break scene, he was able to pick out Miku, because that was the biggest moment, because Miku always wanted to be recognized. But there's been signs where he's used other ways to determine who some of the other girls were. So that doesn't technically mean anything. So it could be points for Miku, but it might not be. But then they decide to go enjoy the festival. Then, so we get to the point where the girls all meet up, and their plan is they're all going to go to a specific room and wait for Fudoro to come into that room. That way, that he doesn't have to deal with the pain and the grief of. So that way, they pretty much somebody say that way they don't. He doesn't have to make the choice harder by doing it in front of all of them. That would cause hurt for him and hurt for them. So he has to go confront the one he likes. So we see Fudoro outside of a door. He takes a deep breath, steps inside. So then we kind of get a little coy part where we see the girls kind of reacting to something, but we don't see them together until we get our first moment where Miku, hard to talk right here, goes and meets Miss Nino and tells her that it's over. That means neither of them got picked. So we all instantly are told that the two top girls both lost instantly. Then we see a scene where Ichika is on a balcony talking, and he's like, you've already made your choice by then. So pretty much saying, and we see the drink he bought was the juice. Then we see Itsuki also saying, like, it's only getting started. Then we see Yotsuba, who wasn't in a room, opening a door to go in because she left her phone. She goes to pick up her phone, and there's Homie sitting there waiting for her. She was the only one that actually wasn't waiting for him. So her thing was she did not think he was going to pick her. So she instantly did not. So she didn't wait because she knew she thought she had no chance. Now, thing I've noticed that watching the show the third time is there is kind of a giveaway here, because there's a hint they give you. Obviously, we know Yotsuba's ribbon. Fudoro always has this little hair thing that also looks like her ribbon. I noticed that on the third time watching the show. I was like, oh yeah, his hair always kind of looks like Yotsuba's ribbon. So we find that Fudoro brought food. He used the coupon to get the food to bring it back and share with her, because he knew that she also wanted that food. So he starts to do his speech on how I was doing it, and she instantly goes, "I'm sorry," rejects him, puts him in shock because you don't know what's going on, because you know how hard this was, how much courage I had to do for this. So he tries to ask her how she feels. Just let him know how she feels. She freaks out and takes off running. He chases after her. He runs into Itsuki, who pretty much he tries to ask about the other girls. Like, no, she went that way. Go. I'll take care of everybody else. So a scene where she's chasing after her. She don't believe she deserves it. She don't think she should win. She don't think she's special. And that's where we start getting a little flashback where we find out that she first met Takebayashi. They just ran into each other. That's all we really see is that they met. So was it her that put something up? So I kind of wonder if there was some kind of something going on more there, but they don't really explore anything. So I don't know if there was anything more to look into though on that one. Then we go to these two. So the end of the night's there, and they need to go back, and he has enough money for the bus, but she used all her money to buy the Lucky Charms because that's Yotsuba. So he could technically leave, go home, go back to the hotel and leave her behind. But he can't do that, so he throws both of his yen into like one of the wishing thing. So like, oh, I guess I'm stuck here with you too. And they kind of talk about their situations, how they're both poor. And Yotsuba makes a plan that she's going to study hard and get really smart and get into school so she can get a good job and make good money and take care of all her sisters. This is before the mom died, so her mom and sisters. And that inspires him to say, well, I'm going to do that same thing. We're both going to do that and study and take care of our families. They make a vow to, from both to accomplish that goal and a wish. Then we cut to where Yotsuba first puts in the ribbon in her hair, and she's studying and she's getting the best grades of all her sisters. And she's like wanting her mom to make her, that she sticks out, that she's special. She's now standing out from her sisters. This is also where Itsuki also just learns, comes up with the idea of putting stars in her hair. To where her mom's like, you're trying really hard but you don't have to be the best. Every one of you are special. The point you all should always just want to be. You should always be together as your sisters. Not trying to separate yourself. But Yotsuba kind of takes the wrong way. I feel like. I mean, the wording is kind of tricky. Like she's trying to say you don't be special, but she's just saying that you don't have to be better than your sisters. You can still be you, but you should still want to be with your sisters. So then when the funeral happens, the mom dies, and that's when Nakano just comes in and says he's going to take responsibility for him. He's going to be taking care of him. And Yotsuba goes to show him that she got a great, she got the highest grade, and she got the best grades of all her sisters. And he just kind of like, like he normally is. He's just kind of like, oh, that's good. That's cool. And doesn't really praise her, which kind of bothers her. The couple are studying. She gives Miku all her video games. Like, I don't need this anymore. I'm going to study and be smart. And because she gave Miku that history game, which we kind of know about, heard before, Miku outperforms her on a history test, which causes her to freak out that one of her sisters beat her in the studying. So she keeps pushing herself harder, and her grades go down, and she's getting worse. So she starts doing the sports because she can excel in sports, and she's now she's doing all that she's doing. She's being high praise from everybody for how good she is in sports, and she's feeling special now because she's sticking out from her sisters. She's doing well in sports. In fact, even where Miku goes to try and confront her, it's like, "Hey, are you doing okay with your studying?" It's like, "I can help you study. We can, I'll help you make sure you pass." To where she blows her off. She goes, "I'm the best. I'm stick out from you guys. I'm special." Because her feeling is she needs to stick out to make herself, she's taking the wrong path. To where she finds out this is where we find out she fails, and they're going to transfer her to another school by herself, and she's going to be alone. And then her sisters all come in and claim that they cheated on the test and that they will transfer with her, and that's when she kind of falls back into the all about her sisters, and then and that's where she started, where the whole putting herself in front of everybody, putting everybody in front of her begins, and then we see the scene where she finds Futaro's exam on the ground, and she starts to approach him. Then we cut back to the current day where he's still chasing her. Futaro, the clumsy one, trips over a rock and falls, causing her to worry. Causes her, obviously she's worried he got hurt, so she turns around and goes back to him. He grabs her legs so she can't run, and he gives her a speech, saying like how he about his past and how he loves all of her sisters, but if it wasn't for her, he would have quit when they at the very beginning when they were pushing back, and that she was his anchor. She was what made him want to keep trying, and now he wants to be that for her. Because if you don't, and then we get to the point where she's like, if you don't like me, if you hate me, just say you hate me. Just tell me how you feel. So we see a bunch of flashbacks, and she's doing an inner monologue, and she's trying to convince herself to say, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. But she says, I love you. But she can't be with him yet because she has something she has to take care of. So we see these two together where he says, no, we're not dating. And so he's like, but she says she loves you. He's like, yeah. And so first we get we see a glimmer where she thinks she has a chance to still take Futuro's heart, but then she's like, no. Buck up, buddy. Go get her. Don't make... So she does the big sister. She goes back into her role as the big sister. And as I said, these two have always had that good of a chemistry with each other. Then we see where Yotsuba is confronting Ninu, and it's kind of going... If you pay attention, it almost sounds like Nino's mad that Futuro picked her, and that she's angry at her for beating her. But it sounds more like she's, I like him and all this stuff, and you're worrying about me. Because so pretty much trying to tell her is like, you should be happy for you, not be worrying about me. Is where I think it was where the inner is the underlying dialogue, because we know Nino likes to do that reverse psychology. We saw her do it with Miku, where I think she's actually trying to push Yotsuba to stand up for herself and stop being trying to worry about how her feelings are. I was like, he picked you. Be happy. So Yotsuba's standing, thinking by the water side. I don't know. I guess a lake or ocean or whatever. And she gets confronted by Miku, who's dressed as her, and she goes, well, I had a plan that if he didn't pick me, I was just going to pretend to be you and date him as you. To where she gets judged to pretty much say, like, that's not right. That's something wrong with that. And then they decide to go to a karaoke cafe. And she's even trying to drink the orange juice, the juice like Yotsuba, and she goes, Yotsuba, I'm playing. I'm joking. It's like, I don't want to be you. It's like, that's not the right thing to do. You are you. I can't be you. And you can't be me. And he goes, and it's pretty much giving her the, he picked, we're happy for you that he picked you. Don't worry about us. Be you. Then she even admits, yes, it does hurt. I can't say it doesn't. So then they end up staying at the karaoke, and then they start singing all night. And then as they leave, they give us a Miku closure moment. So I'll give them that. They did give us that. So she takes her Yotsuba ribbon, she throws it into the ocean or lake or whatever it is. And where she says, like, I can't be Yotsuba, Yotsuba can't be me. But one thing that, I can't say to her is, if we never would have transferred to school, we never would have met Futaro. And we never would have had all the experiences and grow. And she pretty much came to, she was able to finally like herself and enough to believe in herself. So at least they gave us a little. So the author at this point had to know Miku was everyone's favorite. So Futaro goes to meet with talk to Itsuki, and they go into this classroom to talk. There's a mouse that causes them to freak out, and Itsuki kind of jumps in the Futaro and knocks them both to the ground. And then Nino and Yotsuba walk in on the other side of the room. So now they're hiding. So we get another confrontation between these two, to where she Ninu finally goes like, pretty much calls her rival. And then Ninu's way, that's kind of a way of her saying that you're my equal. Stop, And she's like, well, and if I'm gonna go, and so she's like, I want you to understand, see that I love Futaro just as much as you do, and I want you to prove that. So you don't have to accept me now. It could be weeks, it could take years. I want you, but I will prove to you, and you will finally see that I do love him as just as much. So that's where she says, yeah, well, you better, because if that she will watching, and then if she fails, she will steal Futaro away. And then she calls the other two out because she knew she realized they were back there. And she even says to Futaro's like, you heard me. I'll steal you. Then Itsuki has her moment, realizing that, has her little moment, so, as everything's come around. And we see that she has always helped the picture that she took on when they went to the arcade back in season 1. So maybe, showing that she has always kind of liked Futaro. So, but we brought up too late. So finally, we get to where they get to go on a date. So they're on a date. They're on a subway. And then we have an incident where they kind of like fall on each other in a little humorous moment because they're backwards from each other. And then we see they're at a family restaurant. And of course, the girls are spying on them the whole time. And Nino's like going off like, why would he take her to a family restaurant? Why is he using coupons? And the other girl's like, oh, that's just Futaro. That's kind of cute. Of course, Itsuki's pigging down over here because that's typical Itsuki. Then we see him at the library. And the girls are hiding over here. And Nino's still going up. Nino's is struggling really hard. The girls end up having to drag her away. And it's where they're talking about their future. And she says that, well, she wants to help people. It's like her goal is to be someone who helps others. What kind of job that is exactly, I have no clue. Then it ends with them at the same park with the same swings, and Yotsuba's like, I thought you were taking me to places that are special to you. And he's like, since you brought me here, this place is special to me. So she's still questioning herself on some things. So he challenges her, has her do the jump off the swing thing again. And then he goes, if I can jump further than you, you have to hear me out. So he's trying real hard, and she's starting to worry. The swing breaks, and Futaro falls and dies. No, I'm kidding. So yeah, he falls to the ground, and makes this big confession that he wants to be her anchor and all this stuff like that, and asks her to marry him on the first date. Bruh. Of course she freaks out. Okay, so she has a natural reaction at least, and freaks out about like we're skipping steps. Because you can't do that. That's going to creep people out. I mean, other people, that is. Like, wait, what the fuck? And she realizes that her dream that she gave up from all the times ago was to be a bride. And she's like, well, one day you make my dream come true. So she pretty much is agreeing to marry him on the first date. Of course, the sisters are spying, and they're all smiling. But even more shocking is that none of them are having any issue with this marriage proposal on the first date. They're all smiling for her, so I was like, okay. Interesting. Then we have the next day where they have the confession where like, well, yeah, here's the next big thing is I got accepted to a school in Tokyo, so I gotta leave. And pretty much all the girls are like, well, we knew you were going to go to a big city, so this is where they kind of realize that they're going to have to pursue some stuff apart for a while. We see that that Ninu gets accepted in the catering school, so both girls are going in the catering school. Ichika's following her dreams as actress. Ichiki gets into an academic university to become a teacher. And then we see a meeting where they're meeting with Yotsuba, and it's just you're living on your own once you get into college. We still don't have any idea what Yotsuba's doing. Unless I missed it, I don't think it ever really covered what she's actually pursuing. Then we get a time. Now we get our 5-year time jump. We're now up to the wedding, and now we have all the girls grown up. Ninu and Mika are running a cafe that we found out was is being lent to them by Futaro's father, because apparently his mother. Well, we'll find that out in a minute. We'll get to Ichika's. Itsuki picked up Ichika from the airport. She's been in America doing movies. She's now a teacher, so they've all pretty much are accomplished their goals. Yotsuba shows up. She rode a bike all the way in, so Yotsuba shows up, and they start working on putting together. They have a plan in place that they're going to do. They pierce her ears, and so she can wear her mom's earrings for the wedding. We cut to the wedding chapel, and their dad comes to see Futaro. And this is where we hear him talking about how their mother always wanted to open a cafe, and then that's what put him in the debt. And his dad let Miku and Nino lent them the shop, partially to help them out, and partially because he wanted to help their mother's dream live on of a cafe. And the dad, starts coming around the Futaro. And then the wife, his bride's calling him away. He's like, go ahead and go. It's like, as long as, so he asks him pretty much, is Yotsuba happy? And he goes, yes, and so am I. And that's kind of makes him happy. And so he goes to meet the bride, and obviously Futaro's dad was eavesdropping, and he goes in and meets. And this is where their dad admits that he's drinking wine because he's happy. And he's like, do you think they'll work out? He goes, well, it's not our job to know that. It's like, it's not going to be easy. He is marrying one of my daughters. That brings us back full circle to the quintuplet game. So we get a spot of the reception where they're talking, and the reason I put this in here is because that's Futaro's mom. That's the first time I think we've ever actually saw a picture of her. So he starts going one by one and identifying each sister. So first he picks out Ichika. Then we cut to the reception, and Yotsuba does a speech about her, talking about her big sister and everything like that. Then it comes back to Futaro talking about, his interactions with his sisters. Oh, she was all this, but you were strong and you were the best big sister. The next one he picks out is Ninu. And then obviously we get the Yotsuba talk about her sister, and it goes back to him, to where he talks about her qualities and stuff like that, and how he never knew how to talk to her, and he's sorry for that. And we can see poor Ninu is still struggling with it, because pretty much it's like all you had to do is pick out Yotsuba. You didn't have to come pick it all up, show us you could pick us all out. So poor Ninu is still struggling with the choice. So gotta feel sorry for her. And then of course there's our Miku. We also get the same thing. Yotsuba does a little chat about her. Miku, obviously, as soon as she gets picked out, has to hug him. And says she's scared, and she's got all this stuff. And he gives her another big uplifting speech. And she goes, I know you would say that. Thank you. And we have Itsuki. And he kind of picks a little play fight with her. Interesting enough, they're arguing. It's about some kind of accidental kiss. And I'm trying to remember when that happened. And I'm not placing it. So that kind of makes me first tease, like, wait a minute, is this the girl he kissed did he kiss Itsuki because he said you initiated it. So it was like, kind of like, is Itsuki the girl he may have kissed at the bell? Because other than that, I can't think of where he may have accidentally kissed Itsuki. That's ringing a bell. And then finally he picks out his bride, Yotsuba. And then we cut to after the wedding. And he brings up the time he starts to bring up the time where they kissed at the bell too, but she also seems a little claiming it was her. And then she kind of almost was, I wasn't sure if she was going to say it wasn't her or not, but they get interrupted by someone bringing her ribbon. She claims she no longer needs the ribbon anymore because she has someone who can finally see her for her. So she doesn't need to stand out anymore. So if it was her at the bell, then where in the world was this accidental kiss with Itsuki, and why can I not think of it? That's gonna drive me nuts. So they go and they meet up with all the girls who are trying to pick the honeymoon spot because they're all, of course, they're all going on the honeymoon. Because what else? Why else? And that makes him remember a time that they've gone through this once before. So we do. Then we go cut to a scene where he's waking up on the couch with all the girls, who's giving her a hard time. When he wakes up, he says something about, "What about the wedding?" And all the girls freak out. It's like we're trying to pick our graduation trip. So kind of getting a little bit as a tease is like, are they going to try and pull this "it was all a dream" shit? That would piss me off so bad. Because he's dreamt out, so they all pick a spot. It looks like they're all picking different places and argue where they want to visit in Japan for their graduation trip. Which I don't know if that's a chapter in the manga or not. That also got skipped, but I don't. Well, the graduation trip. Well, they weren't fully graduated when. So I would assume that him and Yotsuba would be an item at this point, because I don't think they weren't graduated by the festival. I don't. So I think that's. I'm not sure when that. So I'm not sure when that part when it took place. I think it has to be after his confession. So then we cut back to it. So it was not there. It's not a dream. It was just reminding him of what they're doing now. So they're picking the honeymoon spot. And after analyzing what each girl is wearing, so Miku and Ninu are wearing the same top. Obviously, we know Ninu likes to have her nails done, so Ninu looks like is picking Paris. This is Miku. Looks like she's picking Spain, maybe Portugal. Itsuki was wearing green, so she is picking China. Ichiki was wearing that, so she's picking California or Vegas, somewhere in that area. Because, well, she's an actress. And then this is Yotsuba picking Hawaii. Tease for the honeymoon special. Yotsuba wins. They, I mean, it's not that big of a spoiler because they just don't no big reveal on it. And then it ends with them all having one big last happy moment, looking at each other. And he realizes that, this crazy life, and he doesn't regret any bit of it. And that's how the show ends. This is an hour long, so we're not going to cover the specials. I'll do both specials together. And then another video. This is the anime that never ends, I'm telling you. So, I got more to cover, too. So, overall, I was disappointed when I first watched the movie. After watching the show, I watched it like this whole series like 3 times, and watching the specials, it made the choice make sense more. I will say that much. So as I mentioned at the beginning, so now you've gone through the whole thing, so obviously the spoilers have happened. One of the stories in the skip chapters, the first special, goes heavily in detail about Yotsuba and showing her some of the backstory and why she is the way she is and why she's refusing to let herself love Futuro. And it's super sad. It's and it's so would have made Yotsuba a much better character. And now I don't know if they just because they wanted to keep the surprise he picks Yotsuba out of the blue. So no, but I don't know if that's really that good of an idea. I think you'd want to at least kind of have some fanfare because a lot of people this ending has pissed off a ton of people. There are a lot of people arguments I've seen from like other videos and stuff I've watched where people are not happy about the Yotsuba pick and felt like it was an out of the blue pick. So, like I said, she's most Miku. I mean, like I said, best girl for me, but she's one of the overall most favorite characters and people that think had super growth. Ninu became a fan favorite, and obviously both these girls had super. She's the most. Her and Futuro seem to have like the most compatible personalities. Nino has like the most fun personality. And then, like I said, for most of the point, it sounded like Itsuki was going to be the logical choice because it just felt like she was the one that was making the most connections. The family, she seemed to be like the one that was. So it always felt like it was these three. Season two, right, like I said, pretty much doomed her character and pretty much turned most people against her. And as most people just didn't really care about Yosuke. Yosuke never felt like that deep of a character because we never really got much depth on her. They would do a few little things like arcs, like her the day he spent with her and stuff like that to get to know her a little better. Then there was like the part where she was struggling with the track team, but we never really got any strong story arcs about Yotsuba. Except for her just being the perky, immature one that wore kids' underwear. So that really feels weird for her. As I said, he's like the guy trying to be super mature, studying, getting to college, and fit herself, and she's the one that acts like the child of the group the most. Even if she's technically the child of the group, she's supposed to be the. I mean, these two are supposed to be the most immature. I guess kind of played off that way, but she definitely was. So I don't feel like they really developed her enough to make her make sense as a viable option. And then, of course, the movie absolutely demolished her. I mean, her story arc is just about this biological father that they just decided to throw in out of the blue. No build up on it. It's like, oh, here's your biological father, and she regrets against him. She doesn't even. She's the only one that doesn't kiss Futaro in the final arc. So, like, they pretty much sabotaged her character completely in the movie. So, the movie, like I said, it's kind of a disappointment. I think they should have done a season 3 and extended, and so they could have extended more and put some more of the chapters in there. Like, I know I did start reading the manga, so I've not gotten far enough to know what all else got skipped. To my knowledge, there is, I think, more scenes with Reina. We also, is in season 2, we saw him make the photo book, the photo album. And that completely, I mean, it shows it shows people looking at the photos. At the very end, in the wedding, you see the photo book come back into play there. But it was a gift. And we never see that come into play in this movie. The special, one of the specials, he has him give it to the girls. In the manga, I've told he gives it to Reina. But for it to make sense, they had to do it, give it as a gift to the girls for that to wrap up that loose thread. It was their birthday present. But so that was like an open-ended thing that got left behind. So I definitely feel like this could have been longer. The summer vacation arc, I think, definitely. So the summer vacation arc, there's a story that, with Nino. There's a story with Miku and partially Ichika. And then you have the big story with Yotsuba. We kind of get, the water. They use the water park thing to give some more detail with Itsuki a little bit. There's where we have a little play with Itsuki. And then there's a part where he's at the beach with all his other friends, showing that he's now also getting along with, where we see where he's actually getting along with all the other students in his school now. He's come back around to, hang out with them instead of always ignoring them like he was before he met the girls. So, like, all of them all together, I think is fine to put in the story. I mean, some of them are, don't really do much with the story besides giving some extra character scenes for some of the characters we like. They kind of push up story things. Like, he starts reading a book about romance to to help him out, trying to understand his feelings and deal with other feelings like Nino's feelings. But the biggest part of that arc is the Yotsuba story at the end. That's towards the end of the special, because that actually gives you all this super death on Yotsuba, and that actually makes you pull for Yotsuba a little bit, because that makes you feel for Yotsuba. So I definitely feel like leaving that out may have hurt things. I mean, I don't really think you need it. I just think if it was for a surprise pick ending because you wanted to throw the girl that no one expected to wins. I don't think that was necessary, but. So like I said, so this part, so the movie was was not as good as the seasons, the first two seasons. But overall, like I said, this is probably one of the. Now I have not watched a ton of anime, and I mean, depending on what you count as anime, like I don't know, there's like Castlevanias, I guess technically fall under anime. The Tomb Raider stuff, the Camp Cretaceous definitely isn't. But there's like some of the stuff that's borderline on Netflix. But since I started watching like actual real animes, this is probably one of the best things I've watched so far. I really like Dan the Dan. I don't know. I don't think I'd put this over. This really messed with me though. So I mean, this might be my number one because this one really hit me, got me hooked. But Dan the Dan is very very good. I definitely probably put it over Ranma, and I've watched a couple other things since then. I don't think anything I've seen since then I've watched so far goes over. I put it over. I am currently watching Solo Leveling. It's pretty good. It's fun action, but story wise, I don't think it's as engulfing as this story was. So this was, I mean, it's a rom com. It's a harem of all things. I've watched a couple other harems, so these things are super addicting. But I don't know what more to say about it except for so I mean this is the three parts you can this is the end of the natural one. So like I said, we'll do one for the specials where I'll go and talk about those. But after watching the show a few times, I've come to accept that the Yotsu pick makes sense and does fit the show. The honeymoon show special doesn't really give you too much more closure on anything, so you do still gotta feel sorry for that. The other girls just seem to still all just admire Futaro, and we don't really ever see any of them move on in life. And I mean, definitely so that's kind of the sad part. And still say best girl, second best girl. And then you could put. Then I might bump her up to number 3 at the end there because of all that stuff. But like I said, we know she was the girl from the past, and that's obviously the one that was going to win. That was what we kind of was set up to believe from the beginning. They kind of started pushing that off though. That he moved on from the past. She said goodbye. He said goodbye to his past. He stopped seeming to care about. We knew it with Ichika. He knew one of the girls was Reina. But it didn't seem like that was his driving force at that point. It seemed like he was driving to figure out which girl it was anymore. So it appeared like that storyline had, bookend. It seemed like he moved on from it. But still, she's the one that won. So yeah, so there it is. I guess technically season 3. So, like, subscribe, and stay tuned if you want to see about the specials. Until next time, Cachorro out.